And we're live. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the channel and happy Friday the 13th. Thank you, Devin. That's a good reminder. We're here today as part of the 2026 Black AuthorTuber Readathon. I've got two lovely guests who have not been on the channel before, so I'll introduce them in a moment. My name is Margaret Pennard. I'm a historical fiction and fantasy author and host of the Black AuthorTuber Readathon. So we're in our 5th year, and we've had loads of great authors that are writing all sorts of genres. But today, because tomorrow is Valentine's Day, we're going to focus on romance. So we've got some romance authors to talk to today, and I would love if you would subscribe to them. So first up, I have Kimalisa Mings, and I'll just give her short intro. Kimalisa grew up in the small Caribbean island of Antigua. She's always been an avid reader, and it was the early 2010s when she discovered self-publishing and started using her voice as a writer. And now she writes Black romance set in that small Caribbean island, or maybe a fictional one, because every Caribbean woman deserves a happily ever after. So welcome, Melissa. Hello, hello.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Of course. I'm so excited to meet you guys and learn more about hello, Devin in the chat, and Julie. Hello. Yay. All right. And then next I have Garnell Wallace. So welcome, Garnell. Garnell Wallace writes dark, contemporary, and paranormal romances to help fill the still disproportionate representation of BIPOC and plus-size characters in romance novels. She often writes about the shades of gray between people, creeds, and cultures to find the human experiences common to us all, which I really loved reading that line. That was great. So welcome, Garnell.
Hello.
Hello. And just to tag along to that, the reason I highlight Black AuthorTubers in Black History Month for the US is because I realized that just like every other social media platform, YouTube does its secret algorithm magic of suppressing Black women's and Black authors' voices. And so if I can spend 1 month lifting those voices up and just displaying them and saying, hey, listen to these great people, try out their books, then I will help the community a little bit by diversifying our reads. So hopefully you're on board. I'm going to start out with an introductory question. And just to let people know, Brianna Michelle is also on the panel, but I think she may have had something come up. So if she pops into the studio, I will bring her in, but otherwise we'll have to catch up with her another day. My introductory question is, what do you write? Who do you write for? And what was your latest release? So I'll pop that up because it's a bit of a mouthful, so you can remember. And who would like to start? Kimalisa?
Sure. So I write contemporary, well, I would write sweet and spicy romance featuring Black women set on a small Caribbean island, called Redonda, which is a not so fictional island because there is an actual island, and our island nation is Antigua and Barbuda, but it's also Antigua, Barbuda, and Redonda. But Redonda is actually just a rock on the in the sea, and for a moment it was inhabited by goats, but they had to take the goats off.
Goats. I love it.
Yeah, but and prior to that, I had written BWWM Romance, which was Black Women, White Men, and Romances. But I've decided to come home to the Caribbean.
Nice. I had Kelly Browning on last year, I believe, and read one of her books, and she was my first getting to meet a real live Caribbean author on my channel, and it was great. So I got to learn a lot of history about the Bajan culture, which is a new word that I even learned. So that was pretty cool. Garnell, how about you? What do you write? Who do you write for? And your latest release?
I write mostly interracial romance. I'm just getting into writing Black romance more, but mostly it's interracial romance, primarily for Black women and plus size women. And my latest release is a paranormal, what I call Southern Gothic romance called When the Moon Whispers of Blood.
Did we just hear about that on my channel on Wednesday? Yes, yes. I did my Wednesday wrap up a couple days ago. I will remember to pop it up here afterwards. And I reviewed the book and it was very fun. And someone said, that sounds really good. So hopefully I'm spreading the word and people will find your work. I will
It's a
also
big one, but it's a good one.
Yeah. Yeah. And you said it in Atlanta and Mississippi in a fictional town. Melancholia Cove is
Yes,
fictional. Right? Yeah. So yeah,
yes,
very
yes.
atmospheric Southern Gothic. Very cool.
Hmm.
And I will just say you can look for Garnell's work in the links in the description, and you can especially look for Kim Elise's work in the description because it's her birthday today. So what would be better than buying someone's book on their birthday? So thank you guys for being
It's your
here.
birthday. It's also my niece's birthday today as well.
And my niece. That's so funny.
Really? How old is your niece? How old is your niece?
2002, 24. Her brother is 26. Yeah.
Mine is two.
2. Oh my gosh.
Two.
A cuter age,
Yeah.
let's say.
Yeah.
Oh, well, fun. So hello to the folks in the chat. So Devin is another Black Author Tuber friend. Devin's going to be on the fantasy panel. So I'll remind you guys at the end that February 23rd, a Monday, we're doing a fantasy panel of Black Author Tubers, which should be really fun. Julie is here. Great panel. Awesome. Anita is here, fellow author tuber. Lovely. I put your book links in the chat. Mojo is here. Mojo's going to be on the fantasy panel as well, which is amazing. And we got some happy birthdays. So yay. And Camelisa said she was doing nothing today. So that is exactly as it should be, which is great. All right, so I'm going to dive into questions, but I encourage folks in the chat, if you have questions, pop them in the chat. I will put a star, and then when we come to a little pause, I will let your questions take precedence, but I get to go first. Just a reminder, what does it take to participate in the Black Author Tuber Readathon? Just reading one book. So you can choose a book from either of these lovely ladies and support the authors, support the author community, and have a great Valentine's Day because the romance is chef's kiss. Chef's kiss. All right. So my first question, did you always know you wanted to be a romance author? And whoever wants to go can take it first.
I think she's
Okay, I can take it first. I wouldn't say I knew I wanted to be a romance author. I knew that I would say around 9, 10, 11 that I wanted to write. But growing up in the Caribbean, I didn't really see authors per se of books of novels. The books were at the library, but I never really saw it as something that we did. And who I actually saw doing the writing that were local were mostly newspaper, and it was mostly political. So that was like nothing I was really interested in. But then, what I had taken up was poetry, and I was writing poetry from age 13 to I think about 2012, and I did even spoken word. But then around that time as well is when I started writing longer fiction, and then I eventually went into romance. So that's my journey.
All right. So poetry, spoken word, romance. Neat. Okay. Well, I thought of something while you were speaking, which is that Callie Browning is not the only Caribbean author I've talked to. Deidre Ann Anderson has also been on the channel, but she's a Jamaican who's living in Canada. So she didn't immediately come to mind. But yeah, definitely part of her experience. So just want to pop her name in there too for a little shout out. Garnell, how about you?
well, for me, it was a similar situation where growing up, I never thought I can be a writer because I didn't see anyone who looked like me being a writer. Most of the books that I had available to me were by white writers, white characters. So it was never in my mind that I can be a writer. But when I decided, this is after high school, when I decided that I wanted to be a writer, it was always romance. There was never any other choice. I grew
That's
up reading romance. I grew
mm,
up on the Mills and Boone and the Harlequin back in the day.
wow.
So for me, it was always romance. There was never any other genre for me to write in.
Interesting. Okay. I too love romance, obviously. But I also love historical fiction. And so that often has romance, but it sort of
Yeah.
shifts in the other direction. Yeah. Yeah. How about the stories being specifically Caribbean? So, where did I put that one for both of you guys here? What makes your books specifically Caribbean besides that their authors are? Like, what elements do you think make up those stories? Is it specific themes? Is it a kind of characters? Is it specific in jokes that like we'd have to know people there to understand? What do you think?
Well, for me, I think that in order to make your book Caribbean, you have to make the place a part of the story.
Mm.
The place
Hmm.
has to play an integral part. You have to bring in the landscape and the culture and the history and the people and the food and the music. It's all of these things. It's not just the fact that you're from the Caribbean, because I've done a lot of stories based in other places, and I would not consider them Caribbean romance just because I'm Caribbean. It's
Oh,
all of these elements that you have to bring into your story that makes it a Caribbean story.
excellent. And you reminded me in When the Moon Whispers of Blood, there are a lot of mouth-watering food descriptions because the main character is he used to run a restaurant, is now going into catering.
Hmm.
Oh, amazing,
Yeah,
amazing.
food is a big part of that book.
Yeah,
Very much
great.
so.
Yeah, thank you.
Uh, well, I guess I would say location, but as well as the lived experiences. And I'm looking more at the smaller things that people may not have noticed, but I feel that people who live here, they kind of pick up on it. So I may have like a reference to say how our politicians operate. And that could be in terms of how they deal with the roads and these little Easter eggs that are uniquely, well, I would like to say Antiguan, but I wouldn't say that because that's part of the reason why I didn't set my stories in Antigua. But people pick up on it.
Mm,
And once again, there's food, there is just that lived experience that makes it uniquely Antiguan, Caribbean.
mhm.
And
Nice.
I think there's something nice about part of the reason why I do it is it's nice to have readers, the people that live among me, well, I live among, um, coming to me and seeing me and saying, you know what, they appreciate the stories. And that's part of the reason why I do it,
Right.
because they see themselves there.
Mm-hmm. That's really important. I didn't put this question in the survey before, but I'm curious. There's a sort of crossroads in the Caribbean where you're in the Western Hemisphere, but you're also linked to Africa and the Caribbean, and there's sort of different identities you can claim. I'm thinking of the Bad Bunny show where he went through all the countries, and I'm like, I don't think yours were listed, but like a lot of people were included in his identity of Latinx. And then I'm also thinking of I think it's Prime Minister Motley from Barbados. She was just on Trevor Noah's show, and she was talking about links with Africa and sort of political goals that she was using those links to further. And so I'm just thinking of when you think of your country, where do you sort of place it with who do you sympathize with, or who do you bunch the audience in with? I don't know how you would express.
Well, from my perspective, we became, how you say, independent in 81. So we're still relatively new, and we still have, and we are part of the Commonwealth. So there is that aspect of the British, they call it, influence.
Mm-hmm.
But because of our proximity to the United States, there is that influence. And you can almost hear it in my accent where I may have like a lilt of some kind. But uh, I did appreciate the parade of flags because I made sure I caught my flag in
Yay!
particular. And I feel like there's a movement towards us being seen as well as we are seeing each other and we're platforming each other. And I'm hoping that it's something that's building and that it continues to build as time continues. Uh, and I think also with Antigua is back, I'm not even sure when, but we've always had, for a while, we've always had uh, a US base. And it was only within the last couple decades that it has left. So there was always a British, an American presence,
Mm.
and of course, cable TV, you know,
Right, right, yeah.
and what I had discovered only recently, and I'm ashamed to say, is that we also have a small uh, grouping of Germans. There are
Hmm.
Germans on the island, and there are Italians as well. So we are quite multicultural, and Antigua is, you can almost say, it's like the New York of the Caribbean because we have people from Jamaica, St. Vincent, Dominica.
Hmm.
So it's quite a melting pot. And from that, I can make my books more Caribbean because I've interacted, because also my mother's Jamaican.
Hmm.
So there are all these different aspects that I can pull from. But the link to Africa is our food, because there are, based on, say, the ingredients, the okra, and all these other ingredients, sweet potato, not so much the American sweet potato,
Right,
but
the yam,
purples,
mm,
yeah,
the actual.
and like our own fungi, and there's other foods that is quite African.
Mm.
So I don't actually see it as so much as these influences, but we're just this melting pot. And I feel like right now we're just defining who we are because we can't just say we are predominantly this African, we're predominantly British, and we're
Mm.
influenced by the States.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's helpful. Um, Garnell, what do you think? Do you think Bahamas is more of a melting pot? Do you want to claim that title, or do you have more of like a strict national identity?
Um, we're not we're not so much melting pot. We do have um, other nationalities here. We have a large Haitian population. We have a large Filipino population, a large Jamaican
Oh.
population, a large Greek population. But still, at our core, our nationality are is that we're a black nation.
Mm.
We're not as diverse as some of the other Caribbean countries, and we're very much Americanized
Mm.
because technically we're not in the Caribbean. Geographically, we're not in the Caribbean.
Okay.
We are actually, yeah, we're in the North Atlantic. So we're more like in the Americas than in the Caribbean
Okay.
geographically. But culturally, politically, and all of that, we are considered Caribbean. So we have a very big American influence, but I always believe that we're all connected and in so many different ways. That's why, for me, having like Caribbean romance, it's like I think we need to broaden the definition of what Caribbean romance is because for me, it's always been romance for everyone. Because let's say in America, which is very much a melting pot, there are so many people in America who can trace their roots back to the Caribbean, whether
Mm.
it's through being Haitian, being Jamaican, being Hispanic. We all have a way of tracing our roots back to the Caribbean, or even of tracing our roots to America. Like for me, I
Mm.
do a lot of stories that are based in South Carolina
Okay.
with the Gullah Geechee people,
Mhm.
because Bahamians are descendants of the Gullah Geechee people of South Carolina. We can
Ah.
actually trace that as our origin. So for me, writing a story based in South Carolina is also going back to my roots. Writing a
Mhm.
story based in the Gullah Geechee country is me going back to my roots. Because if you ever listen to the way the Gullah Geechee people speak, and if you're a Bahamian, you will recognize the way that they speak. That's
Mm.
the way my grandmother spoke, and that's the way my mother spoke when she was growing up. So the first time I heard a Gullah Geechee woman speak in her native way, I was shocked because she sounded so much like a Bahamian, but she's Gullah Geechee.
Mm.
So it's these traditions and things that are passed down that connects us, and we may not see it that way, but it all connects us back to the US and to Africa. It's all, we're all one.
Mm.
So if you're going to read Black American romance, you should be reading Caribbean romance because all of that is a part of your culture.
Awesome. I love maybe you guys are hearing that too. I don't know if the audience is hearing the echo. I'm trying to ignore it because I think it's just me that hears it. But let me know if there's problems. I'll try to
I
troubleshoot.
don't hear. I
Okay.
don't hear.
I love when books have that connection mindset, being that like we have these cultural signifiers, we have this lilt in the voice, we have this rhythm of dance and music, we have this core ingredient that like links people across the globe in different ways. So I appreciate that too. That's great.
Oh,
Um,
can I just jump in for a minute? For a moment. I have to agree with the Gullah Geechee people, people in South Carolina, because I only discovered them within the last decade, and that was through a book by Beverly Jenkins. And I feel like there are these little pockets of America that someone like me from outside has no clue about. But then when they speak, there's like, oh, wait, those are my people.
yeah.
Those are my people. And then I was watching something, the Netflix documentary on Katrina. And
Mm.
when they were saying that New Orleans was like the um, was a Caribbean, something Caribbean in the States. And as I'm watching it, I'm like, oh yeah, yeah, those are our people too, because the way their parades going through the streets, their whole being, it was like, yes. But
Mm.
then I'm slowly pulling away from just the notion of the Caribbean romance because the more I'm in this space, the more I realize that you can't really push Caribbean into one thing because we're so different. And when
Mhm.
you realize, oh my gosh, the languages, and then there's the Caribbean islands that have cities, it's so different from my lived experience. When I was visiting my mom's cousin in Jamaica, he lives in Kingston, and seeing the bars on the windows and everything, it's like, yeah, this is not my lived experience. So
Yeah.
that's why I'm changing it to say that it's romance set in a small Caribbean island. Because in a way, I kind of want to respect that when I put it out, people are going to stop and say, well, that's not my version of Caribbean. And I've seen that kind of pushback with at least one book. So I'm still
But
feeling in
there
my
can
way
be
around.
there can be many versions. There's not one. So it may not be their version, so they can learn something new about somebody else's experience.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And that's why it's also sometimes I feel like, okay, reviews are for readers. There's sometimes, let me just stay out here and let me just work on the next book.
Right,
Let me work on being better. Yeah.
Because even in my country, because we have so many different islands, you will get a different experience if you place a book in Nassau, which is the capital, than if you place it on another island. It will be a completely different experience. But it's one country, it's a different experience.
so I like the
Nassau
way
is, uh-huh.
I like the way I think Kimberly's was explaining. If you make it a little bit more fictional, a little bit more general, it's kind of like you're putting a blur filter so that it can refract whatever way it needs to reach people's own, oh, it's like when we do this, and they can relate it back to something that's similar in their own experience, which I think is great.
Mm-hmm.
We had a lot of chat, so I'm just gonna catch up quickly and let people's comments pop up. So Elaine was here eating carrot cake, a Canadian delicacy. Yeah, we were talking about food. Jim is here saying, everyone's saying happy birthday. This is Angela. Angela's here, on a fellow historical writer. We have a question from the audience that I've tagged from Julie. We have Leslie here. Hello, hello. Yeah, and Angela said my heritage is Galigichi, so awesome. Uh, fellow love for Beverly Jenkins, Ms. Bev, love it. And hello, Laura, first of all. But then, yeah, strange noise like a dog growl. Must be a mic. Yeah. It's hard to work out which direction it is, but I'm trying to mute myself. Kimberly's just muting herself, I think, when Garnell is speaking. So we'll try to figure it out so you don't get any dog growls, but apologies. How about the type of romance? Did you make a conscious decision about writing on the sweet to keep it with the food metaphors, on the sweet or the spicy end of the scale, or was it just like a natural choice? What do you think?
For me, it was a natural choice. I don't read sweet romance, so I write what I read.
Well, for me, it was actually a car boot sale. I had taken a bunch of my used books to a car boot sale, and I noticed the only books that were picked up was Eric Jerome Dickey. And I was like, okay, I see what's going on here. I see what the market wants. But then after doing a collection of spicy short stories, I think I may have short-wired myself. So sometimes when I'm writing, I just put sex scene here and then keep writing and then figure it out. But I think I'm getting back into the sweet and spicy right now.
And who is the name that you mentioned? Because that's not familiar to me. Eritrea?
Oh, Eric Jerome Dickey.
Eric Jerome Dickey. Okay, I'll look that up while we're waiting and see if I can get a link for people in a bit. What about publishing decisions? I had one about pen names because I think Garnell has different pen names. I've thought about it maybe like for a few seconds and then was like, no, I couldn't handle that. So what
Yeah.
went into your thought process of having multiple pen names and like separating them? What was the guiding logic?
For me, I never wanted a pen name. I was advised to have a pen name because everyone outside of the Bahamas thought that my name was a boy's name. I don't know why. In my country, it is definitely a girl's name.
Hmm.
Outside of the Bahamas, for some reason, everybody thought it was a male's name.
I knew a Darnell with a D, and that was a guy
Mhm.
in high school, but I've never come
Mhm.
across a Garnell before. So yeah, it was
So
new to me.
yeah, I was advised to have a pen name because everybody thought my name was. And when I started getting correspondence from away with Mr. Wallace, I was like, okay, I think I need a pen name. But I still wanted to have my name on a book.
Hmm.
So I've had several pen names. But it became so much work just to try and market all of these different pen names. It was too much. I couldn't keep up with it. So I whittled them down to just one pen name. I have one pen name now, which is the Jubilee Brown, because I have a series under that pen name. And the only reason I kept that is because to delete those books and republish them, I would lose all of the reviews.
Ooh, yeah, you
I couldn't do that. So that's the only reason why I kept that one pen name, but I got rid of all of the other ones. It was too much work.
don't.
And I said, in time, people will learn that I'm a girl and my name, yeah. So that's why I had one, but no more. It's too much work.
And on my part, I have two names. Um, well, one is a version of my name, which is KN Mings, and that was when I was just trying out mystery, and that one is 50 years in the future, and that was detective murder mystery, and what was that? Uh, yeah, and I think at the time it was more because I saw that some women were using that to make it. I don't know. I think at the time,
Gender
yeah,
neutral.
gender neutral. And that was actually the first book I ever wrote set in Redonda. And after doing that, I was like, yeah, I can do this. I want to continue doing this. And the other book, author name, that was just one, and that was a collection of spicy stories. And I don't really promote it, but then one day I noticed that I had sold a book. So I went to the Amazon page, and under it, I noticed that there's a different face underneath. There's actually a face there. So that name, another author with that name had claimed the book. And when you go to her author page, there is my book, and it looks nothing like her other books. But then I was just like, what am I going to do? You know what? So I just left it there. But it's kind of funny because it's like they're all her books, and I think it's more like a sweet, maybe women's fiction. And then there's this very clearly spicy cover in the middle of her books.
But the sale went to you. They just have it
But the sale,
categorized as her. That's so weird. That
yeah,
would be probably
somehow
hard
she claimed the book, so I don't know.
So
to
was it
blame.
the same name?
No, pardon. I think so. Yeah, it's yeah. Her name.
Because it may
So
not be that she claimed it. It's just because the name was the same, they put it together. It may not be her
ah
claiming the book.
ah. Hmm, I'll look into it.
Because
But
I've had that experience before with one of my pen names. It would always
yeah.
go to another author. And I had to go
Oh.
into Goodreads and actually claim the book.
Oh. Well, because I haven't decided. I was considering writing something else under that pen name. I'm still not sure. So that's why I haven't done anything as yet.
Yeah, because you want to make sure the book is goes to you.
Right. Yeah.
Good
So
point. Good learning going on. Maybe we have another thing on the to-do list. Yay. Leslie has looked up Eric Jerome Dickey on Barnes and Noble. So yes, Laura says, yeah, Eric's books look pretty spicy. So Kimberly's doing market research at the used book sale. Love it. That's great. And we have Dee Dee coming in to say hello. Hello, hello. Okay, let me see if I have oh yeah, this is a good one. So, where have you been able to find colleagues to talk openly to about career, writing life, things like this? Like, oh, if you claim your book here, Goodreads librarians there, da 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 da. Have you found YouTube as a good place for that, or do you do more offline, like like local sort of virtual retreats? What has been your best solution?
well,
For me, okay, you can go first.
Well, for me, it would be in sometimes online spaces. And once I had started going the direction of Caribbean romance, I was able to meet Callie Browning. And at one moment, we were part of a Caribbean Christmas romance short story initiative. That was started by a woman from Guadeloupe who lives in France. So she organized with us as well as I think it was someone from Martinique, Kali from Barbados, her from Guadeloupe, and there was two of us from Antigua. And yeah, I think that was it. And at one moment we were like doing writing online through Zoom, but we haven't done that recently. And the other Antiguan author, whenever we meet up, we would just have a good natter and just talk about. We last time we met was in the supermarket, and I was able to ask her about her editor, and we, when we talk, we talk. And there is a local writer. She is British, but of Antigua parentage, and she has moved down here. And she had done a workshop. And with the workshop, the people wanted to do a writing group. So she's starting that up this month. So I'm hoping to join that. And the funny thing is, I had thought of the idea in 2020, but we saw what happened in 2020. But I feel like she's in a better position to get that started. So I'm looking forward to taking part in that.
And for me, it's all online. I don't have a community here. I wish I did, but I don't have a community here. And even the one I have online is very, very, very small. So I don't have that committee that I feel that I need.
Well, we're happy to stand in when you need more AuthorTube love, because now that you've walked in here, you've got names in the chat and you got probably people that will go visit your channel and pester you with comments, which is great, which is the point. This is what we want to do, is connect more people. Yeah, so Laura says someone else's children books have somehow got attached to my Goodreads author page. Need to sort it out somehow. Yeah. I would say you probably have an easier task with Goodreads sorting it out, because there are volunteer librarians still, maybe. I don't know. I don't use the site anymore. But on Amazon, you might just be,
I think, yeah.
yeah, which wouldn't be as productive.
Yeah, I don't think it's the authors claiming these books. I think they're attached to them because of a name or something.
Okay. Oh yeah, just the sorting process. Dee says there's a scene in The Blackbirds by Eric Jerome Dickey that took me out. She says, which is great. Yes, Devin says standing in, and I will just say, because I saw the first announcement video, is Devin is one of the co-hosts of the AuthorTube Writing Conference, and if you guys are interested, that happens in June, I believe. You just pitch a topic that you want to talk about as an author, and we go into this whole scheduling thing, and people come to watch, and there's little volunteer support, and it's great. You want to network and go to other virtual talks about writing as author tubers. So it's great. Yeah, Angela says, exactly. Hit them up. Yep. Monique says, yep, I have children's books attached to one of my pen names. And Mojo writes like everything. So I wouldn't question whether she had a children's book. It would probably be true because she's written so much. So yes, and hit the like button. Thank you, Dee. Let's see. Moving on to more business questions. What about strategies for balancing full? Oh, wait, I didn't edit that. A writer business, and life. How about that? One of the things that a lot of authors will say is that while they're writing, it's more of a passion project and they have to do other work to support it. And so do you guys have thoughts about balancing your time management and things like that for being a writer?
I think that's always an issue. For me, I don't have a full-time job,
Mm,
but I'm a caregiver for my mother. So it's
mm,
balancing that with finding time to write. So that's still, that takes a lot of my time. But I'm lucky where I don't have a day job that I have to go to.
mm,
It's all about more managing my time.
mm,
Yeah, same. I've been offering services through oh yeah, I was offering services through Fiverr, formatting, and I've been juggling that as well as local uh, work that's recently been picking up. So I've been slowly coming out of Fiverr and focusing on the writing as well as local work, because sometimes there's that moment of overwhelm and you kind of just want to burn everything down. But one
Mhm.
of my mandates for myself was to build a catalog of books. So every time when I'm thinking I've gone off the rails, it's just have to recalibrate and focus, because there are just all these stories that are in the back of my mind, and I just have to sit down and get it done. And one of them that I'm working on, I realized that it was a series that I had just like fallen off. And when I continued and was working on it, I realized, oh my goodness, 10 years have passed and I haven't gone back. And when I had started my Substack, somebody subscribed to the Substack to ask me when I was going to finish that. So that's when I had to take it really seriously and finish that series. But it's making up your mind, focusing, and even with some of our favorite authors, well, indie authors, they're balancing it too. And sometimes they say they haven't been writing. So, yeah.
like me. Although I've just gotten back into it within the past few weeks, which is great. And I was gonna say, burn it all down. What do you mean? That's never occurred to me at all. I don't know what you're talking about. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so early 2010s, and Garnell, I don't think I have a date for when you started publishing, but we've come a long way since then because that's when I started as well, 2013. So when in the mix did you decide where you were going to publish, and has it expanded, and what has guided those decisions? Whether it's Smashwords or Apple or TikTok or Amazon only, or like how do you make those publishing decisions? Is it just time you have, or like specific reasons to reach people?
Want me to go first? Well, for me, it's there are so many places that I cannot publish. Wherever I can is where I do publish. Because, for instance, I don't know if it's the same thing for you, Kim Melissa, but for me, I can't publish directly to Apple or Barnes and Noble. I have to go through Draft to Digital. I cannot publish to them directly. I cannot publish to Google Play, Publish Drive. It's just not available. So wherever I can publish, I don't anywhere I can, I'm going to, because there's so much that's not available to me. I can't use Audible. I can't have a TikTok shop. All of these things are not available to you when you're outside of the US, Canada, the UK. So we don't have as many options as someone, let's say, in the US.
Yeah, I agree. I wasn't well. I was aware of the Google Books, but I wasn't aware of Audible. I thought it.
You can't do Audible.
Oh wow! All right, and I was aware of TikTok Shop as well. So I just figured that was just not an option for me. Yeah. So for me, it's Amazon and through Drafted Digital,
Mhm.
and I'm more drawn to Amazon because I realize that the page reads. Some people may not purchase a book, but they would read the book, and I would get something from that. And I would like to explore Apple because when I look at the draft to digital dashboard, the reports, I noticed that Apple, it's one of the drivers. It's just I would have to maybe strategize on how to, and I have a couple short stories that I'm considering lumping together and having that wide. But what I've noticed is that Amazon is where a lot of people purchase their books. But I'm also hearing people say, yeah, I don't really want to do what do you call it? I don't want to purchase through Amazon. So I'm going to have to take
Mhm.
that seriously as well.
You
And
should you should do the rest of them.
yeah, and also Substack, not Substack, Ingram Spark. I noticed that I would love to um, utilize that, but it's not that easy being, as you said, being outside of the US, UK, and the ISBN for our region. I
Mhm.
wish those are the times when I wish I was in Trinidad or Jamaica where it's cheaper because I think it's like $50 for one or 50 US or something for CARICOM. So
Yeah.
just the ease of that's why Amazon is kind of just a little bit easy. Da da da, throw it up there. But then that means you have a lot of competition. So it's all the business of it. And you have to like put on your big girl panties and be like, okay, I'm gonna figure this out. This like it's a lot to figure out.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, swimming in the sea for sure. There's definitely like the trade-offs that you have to negotiate, which is frustrating. Okay, we have some questions from the audience, so I'm gonna yeah, Leslie says that's expensive for an ISBN. It's $125 in the US. And you know what it is in Canada? 0. Yeah. So it's the system. They're just milking the authors for their dreams, which I don't agree with either. So I'll make my way back up. Devin says it makes it so hard. Will you sell direct to your website? Because that is an option, but I know that it's very hard to do. I've tried to do the direct sales with a shopping cart and I keep getting hit with security problems. And I'm like, I'm doing everything basically with no budget because the sales are so low. So putting money into something every month to sustain a shopping cart where no one buys from it is like a hole of money pit that could go on forever. So what do you guys think about direct sales? Is it a goal or what?
Not for me.
uh,
To ship books from the Bahamas would be so expensive. No, it would be
yeah.
too expensive.
Yeah, I learned that the hard way because I was living in New York. I had gotten a series of books because I have studied fashion design. I had these particular books on drafting and colorways. And I decided, okay, I'm going to sell it through eBay from down here. Ugh, the amount it cost it wasn't worth it. Whatever I made, I basically paid in shipping. But there is a company down here that started something, a marketplace. So I'm going to explore that because they have a special deal with DHL. But I'm thinking that is more for the region as opposed to beyond the region. So fingers crossed on that. But I've heard in the self publishing spaces that the direct having your own shopping cart, that's for those who have already established themselves. They have their readership, they can push their people to their shopping carts. But for us, you know, out of pocket, early days, it's just it's not feasible. Well, that's just my take anyway.
Agree. Mojo says, yeah, that's why I got 1,000 for 1,500 because if you get a whole bunch, then you minimize the per unit
Mhm.
price. But then you've got to write all those books, and of course, she can. I cannot. Let's see. Oh, Canada. Yep, it's a good anthem. Anita is saying that in Canada as well, Canadian author, she uses Ko-fi and Fourth Wall to sell ebooks direct. So that may be an easier option as like third party sites, and they might work. Um, Mojo says using Lulu for paperbacks. I don't know if these are options you've explored, but you can write them down if they are new. to explore. Let's see. Dee Dee had a question. How did you start writing? She came in a little late, so we didn't get the actual story of like when you started. So maybe you can expand on it or.
In terms of, okay, for me, poetry is how I got started, and my teacher in second form, I'm not sure what it is in grade, I was about 13, and I wrote a poem about New York, and she encouraged me to continue. So, and that was like one of the things that no one had to tell me to do. I would just, wherever I was, I always had paper and I was always writing. Um, from Antigua, New York, Miami, Montreal, Italy, Paris, I was always writing. And around 2012, a story popped into my head. It was a reimagining of Little Red Riding Hood, where set in Antigua, where the big bad wolf was a man, and the there wasn't a huntsman, but Grandma had a little pew pew, and so and that was like the first thing I ever had that was edited, and the editor kind of shifted it, but then I wonder if the way was a little too real, so she kind of like changed the end. But from then on, stories keep popping into my mind. I could just be sitting somewhere, like I was supposed to be not doing anything, but then I started like spinning a story. So I'm always writing in one form or another. Yeah.
And for me, I don't know if you remember back in the day in the grocery store, they used to have the romance magazine, the True Romance, the Black Romance, the True Confessions. You remember those? You're probably too young to remember those.
I don't know if they had that in the States, but I remember it
Yeah, they
being
did.
something in London. Whenever I was visiting my grandma in London, they would be those.
In the grocery store, they used to sell them.
Ah,
The romance magazines.
Are they like
True
the
Romance.
occasional magazines that were like $10 and like extra glossy, so they were thicker than the Inquirer and like the, decorating magazines that were every
Yeah,
month? It was more
I
like
think
one a
no,
season.
these were every month. These were every month.
Wow. Okay, that's a little different. I think we had something slightly different where I grew up.
Are you Canadian or American?
American.
yeah,
Or
we
maybe just not in your area.
Yeah.
But we used to have those. So my first short story was in one of those magazines in 98. Long time ago.
no, I'm really trying to think of it, but we down here we never had it. I've only seen something like that in the UK, not here. Like it would be these,
Like
as
it
you
was
said,
like
romance, and it would be different. I think sometimes it gave the impression that it really happened or
yes.
it was fictional, but
Like
I
Women's
never seen it
Day.
here.
Women's Day. You remember Women's Day? It was similar to that, but it was all romance stories.
Okay. Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I got my
Breaking
start.
into the market. That's awesome. That's great.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so let me go back and remember before I forget the comments here. Devin says, I use PayHip, but not sure if it's available where you're located. They take a processing fee. I didn't pay out of pocket. It's an EPUB format. EPUB PayHip is what I think a lot of people connect to for direct sales, but again, not sure if it's available outside the US. That is a hitch.
Yes, it is. I've tried PayHip, and there's another one, Gumroad, but it's still that driving the traffic to it and still figuring it out, basically. Yeah.
So it technically works, which is better than where I am because the security, the spamming is like making it just a whole headache. But again, like you were saying, it's when you've already got an audience on your Substack or newsletter that you can drive to the direct sales. Good point. Julie had a question, so I'm going to go back up. Do you include characters that are loosely based on real people you know or have known? If so, do you tell people that one of your characters is based on them? Ooh, what do you think?
The only person I've used in my stories is myself. But I will take names from family members.
Uh, for the little, 'cause I called it Little Red Hoodie, that very first story, there was a we call it article in the newspaper that the character was reading, and it's kind of based on a real person. But I think that just added flavor to it because everybody in the island knew that person. And in the last book I had put out, which is Off the Record, I loosely based the prime minister in that on our current prime minister. But and in terms of the names, I think that's where I have a problem because every time I come up with a name, it's like, oh, I know somebody like with that name. I can't use that. And it's just like I have to like keep a list of names that I can use that I find interesting. But every now and then it's like, okay, this story, da 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 da. Okay, I'll use this name. Nope, I know that person. They might think da da da. So I try to avoid that.
Sorry, I hit my whole screen instead of the mute button that time. There we go. So good question, Julie. The dangers of being an author. People can think they're in your story when they're really not. Angela had another question. Do you guys blend genres when writing? If so, how do you keep the romance genre front and center? Yeah, and Kim Elisa was talking about dabbling in mystery and yeah, genre question. I love talking about genres.
With the mysteries I have done, I think it's equal parts. And one of the things I kind of struggled with was I had a series, the Sapadilla Resort and Spa series, where I think the center book, I feel it was more women's fiction. And it is something I would like to dabble in because it's not a clear boy meets girl, da 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 da. It's her coming to terms with the mystery of her that her deceased husband had left behind. So the romance is there, but it was just hard to market it because of that. And part of the whole publishing thing, it's like learning the genres and learning how to bake in the marketing into it so that it's easy at the end kind of thing. I don't know if I'm making sense. Sorry.
Yeah, it's a trade-off. Like you want to experiment and you want to follow your curiosity in terms of what you want to write and develop maybe one thing more than another. But then you go, oh, and now I have to cultivate a new audience that likes women's fiction or persuade my audience that this is interesting enough. And it gets really messy. Yeah, no, I feel you.
Well, for me, the romance is always central. Even if there's other, like I do a lot of paranormal as well, the romance is always central.
Got it. Excellent. I had a bunch more questions. Let me catch up. So Devin says they still have those magazines in some stores. I'll have to take a picture. She'll send me a picture next time. Mass market paperbacks, novella style.
Yes.
Interesting. Okay. All right. That's giving me like I've got conflicting images here, so I'm not sure if I have seen or have not, but we get the idea. Laura says we had a magazine like that in the UK called People's Friend. Okay. And let's see. Julie was saying, Garnell, I think that being a caregiver to your mom is an all-day job with opportunities for breaks during the day. So she's trying to give you props from like an earlier comment, and I just forgot to send that along to you.
It's very much an all-day job.
Devin said she subscribed to everyone, and Angela said, I'll subscribe to everyone once I'm finished Uber driving. That's good. Be safe. And then Mojo was saying about the children's book that was in her catalog. She said, nah, 2 of my grands are in their 20s. So she's out of that market, I assume is the implication. And then Devin was just giving us some news. The AuthorTube Writing Conference is actually going down to one day in November. So, okay, there's a transition, but the announcement is tonight. So if you're up later on, probably Shannon and Devin and there's a new person. So maybe they'll be on all the channels. But yeah, they have an announcement going later today. Laura's final question. Do you ever picture famous actors as your characters when you write?
For me, no. Because then their personality will
No, not really. Strangely enough, I kind of like view them more as their personalities than how they appear. So I never really have a clear image of the person in terms of a particular person. But for the next book I'm working on, I'm exploring that in terms of setting up a mood board and everything. So, but I never really have like a particular actor in mind.
Same. I kind of have like a blurry description of like physical characteristics, and I have more of a driving force that I'm using as like the basis for remembering that character. But I have to get some sort of picture of some like just model headshot because I need to remember what color was their hair, what was their nose look like, what have I referenced already on this person, so I get it consistent. Yeah, so mood boards are good. So we're over the hour here, so I'm just gonna like take the last few comments and questions. Leslie says, Sam here, subscribed and hit the notifications bell button. Awesome. Love a mood board. Perfect. So I was gonna ask about like goals for 2026 or like upcoming events. So I'll just finish with that and let you guys choose which or both you want to respond to. So I'll put that up. And yeah, what is coming up next and what are your goals for 2026?
For me, for 2026, I'm all about building community and building my brand and building community because I don't have enough of that. And I think I need that more than anything. So that is my main goal for 2026.
Brilliant.
For myself, I'm always pushing myself to get three stories out. I'm completing one hopefully by March, the latest. And there's an anthology I would like to do that includes Antiguan authors in time for the gender awareness, the 16 days of activism at the end of the year. So, and I'd like to increase my earnings through book sales. And there was something else that I can't remember. But yeah. Oh, and the other thing, yes, because I know nothing about AuthorTube. So if y'all have anything you can share in the chat about being on AuthorTube, because I have no clue. But,
awesome. Those are great. So very good goals and things for 2026. I just wanted to pop into the chat a reminder. You can definitely buy these lovely authors' books. I think they're on the list that I put on Bookshop, which is just like a list of the books from people in past Black AuthorTube Readathons and the present. So you can go through there. And if you want to join by reading one book, which you can do sometimes in one day, because some of these romance shorts are just spellbinding. You can read them in one sitting. Not Garnell's latest. That took me several days. It was long. But some of So check them out at the spreadsheet that I have here. People who are in there for their own books can read other Black author tubers books too. So don't let it stop you if you're a Black author tuber. That's just a Google spreadsheet, and you can go in and see all the books that I've listed and pick one, put your name next to it, and then hopefully we'll have a closing ceremony with some readers and authors on March 2nd. So stay tuned for the invitation if you are involved. Julie says the anthology of antique and authors sounds interesting. Yes, and I'm going to ask about the organized holiday collection, because that sounded like catnip. That sounds really good. So yeah, we'll get that link later. And yeah, thank you guys for coming on and talking about your author careers and your books. And I just really appreciate you taking the time. Definitely go and subscribe, share this stream. And thank you for being part of the reading community for this month and all year long. Thank you for watching. Everyone take care, and we'll see you again soon. Okay.